Hello and welcome to the second edition of our SportsZone baseball special. I am Dan, I have Aviva and Kristen here with me as the World Series matchup is all set. It's about to get underway tomorrow, that's Tuesday night, and it will be the Cleveland Indians against the Chicago Cubs. In a way, it's a journalist's favorite situation because one way or another, there's going to be narrative this World Series as a very long championship drought will come to an end. The Cubs, of course, famously have gone 108 years without a title. 1908 was their last, but the Indians have not won a World Series since 1948. It's not 100 years, but 70 years is, or 60 years is nothing to laugh at either. So one way or another, one of those droughts will come to an end. So Kristen, I'll start with you. The Indians coming in really red hot. They've won 7 of the 8 games they've played this postseason, swept the Red Sox, and beat the Blue Jays in 5 games. A little bit extra rest for them coming into the World Series. What are you looking at for them coming forward, and who's stepped up to get them this far?
I think looking back, their past success can be attributed mostly to their bullpen. Andrew Miller and Cody Allen have been lights out for the Indians, so as long as they can continue to have success going forward, I think that they should be able to do really well in shutting down the Cubs lineup.
And actually, interesting of note, you talk about the Indians' bullpen. I believe they made history. I think it was Game 3 or Game 4 of the championship series. It was like the first team to win a postseason game with no pitcher recording more than 5 outs. It was the Trevor Bauer game where he had his finger issue, which he cut on a drone, and it started bleeding. He only got 2 outs, and then they had to piece it together with the bullpen. Nobody got more than 5 outs, and they still won postseason history. It talks about how good that bullpen has been. Aviva, pivoting over to you, the Cubs, probably known more for their young offensive talent to combat that Indians pitching staff, just beat the Dodgers in 6 games. Kyle Hendricks getting the better of Clayton Kershaw in that one. Another dud for Kershaw after he pitched so well in Game 2. Narrative on him is still kind of up in the air, we can call it. So Aviva, what are you looking at for the Cubs? What are their keys to success?
I think the Cubs lineup is very, very, very good. They have Rizzo, they have Bryant, they have Fowler, they have Hayward. These young hitters can really hit on the Cleveland's pitching. And they've been doing well all season, and I think that it's going to continue in the World Series.
Something actually interesting to note, this series has got to be painful for Yankee fans. You've got Aroldis Chapman closing for the Cubs, Andrew Miller for the Indians, and the Yankees are sitting at home with some prospects going, man, I hope these guys are good, and I hope they're worth it. Anyway, transitioning kind of away from that, both these teams actually could get a boost heading into the World Series. A couple players potentially returning from injury. For the Cubs, Kyle Schwarber has been out since the 3rd game of the season when he blew out his knee. He's been in Arizona playing in the Arizona Fall League, and he's supposed to fly to Cleveland after his game today. So he could arrive. He will arrive in time for the game. The question is, will he be on the roster? He DH'd 2 games in Arizona. He probably won't be able to play the field, but if he can DH in Cleveland for Chicago and the series opens in Cleveland, what kind of impact can he have? How much better can this Cubs team be?
I think Kyle Schwarber gives him even more advantage in this lineup. He hasn't played since the 3rd game, but being able to hit in a lineup that is already good, I think it will make the Cubs lineup even better.
And of course he's got the postseason history as well. He played last year, hit that monster home run over the Wrigley Field scoreboard against the Cardinals in the playoffs last season on their run to the championship series. Pivoting over to the Indians, Danny Salazar, their starting pitcher, who hasn't pitched in over a month, September 9th, I think was his last start, threw a simulated game today in Cleveland. He said he feels good. The Indians have set their rotation up through Game 3. So it'll be Corey Kluber, then Trevor Bauer, then Josh Tomlin for Game 3. But if they can have Salazar for Game 4, it gives them... So Ryan Merritt started for them, I think, Game 5 of the championship series, who had pitched 11 career innings before that. If they can get Salazar back to pitch Game 4, that makes them much more formidable against that strong Cubs offense. So, Kristen, Salazar is an all-star pitcher. How good do you think he can be coming back after over a month away?
I think Salazar coming in to pitch Game 4 against the Cubs is going to be pivotal in that series. As we've seen before, Game 4 can make or break a series for a team one way or the other, and I think having him come in and pitch Game 4 is going to really push the Indians the Indians rotation over the top.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's a huge difference between 2-2 and 3-1, and that totally can change the dynamic of the series. Obviously, 3-1 either way. Or theoretically, you could have a team going for a sweep in Game 4, but that's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, I think. So yeah, that's Schwarber and Salazar potentially coming back. We don't know for sure. I think rosters are probably finalized tonight, heading into the game tomorrow. But we'll see. There's a chance, which is what these teams are saying. So as I said earlier, one championship drought will come to an end this season. We're going to move on to our predictions for the World Series, which is arguably the best part. Kristen, I will start with you. What is your prediction for the series?
I think that each game is going to be very closely contested. I think it's a great match. I see the Indians winning this one in 7. I think their bullpen is they've been unstoppable so far. They shut down the Red Sox and Toronto, which I wasn't expecting. So I think the Indians' bullpen is going to put them over the top, and they're going to win in 7.
All right. So one for the Indians. Aviva, you're up.
I'm going to say Cubs in 7. I think it's going to be a great series, but I think the Cubs' offense is really going to put them over the edge.
I'm going to take the Cubs in 6. And I waffled on this one. I very nearly went Indians in 6. And I have a friend on both sides, so I'm going to make someone really upset either way, and I'm sorry for that in advance. But I'm going Cubs in 6 just because what we haven't talked about is the Cubs pitching staff. John Lester won co-MVP with Javi Baez of the championship series. We talked about Chapman at the back end, but Kyle Hendricks was the ERA leader. Jake Arrieta, last year's Cy Young, we know he has it. He hasn't been himself, but if he turns it on for Game 3, he's nearly impossible to hit. And John Lackey is a wily veteran. You got him going Game 4. He can be inconsistent at times, but if he's on, he's on. And I think it's actually the edge in the starting pitching that will give the Cubs the advantage. Cleveland is Corey Kluber, who's also a Cy Young winner, but other than that, Trevor Bauer and Josh Tomlin are not your proven starters. These are not aces. Bauer's ERA in the regular season was 4.3, which is okay. Even if they have Salazar for Game 4, you don't know what he's going to be like. You don't know what kind of depth he's going to give you. So I'm going to take the Cubs in 6. That is my prediction. And that is also all the time we have for this World Series special edition of Getting to Third Base. I'm Dan for Aviva and Kristen. Please check back later the week for our full episode of SportsZone, and we will see you after the World Series.